Let me just start off by saying that not everybody on planet Earth has actually watched the new Superman movie. I'm just throwing it out there. You know, you don't need to go around spoiling everything and talking about cameo appearances. If you want to give me like a 2-word review, cool, but there's no need to go into like full-on detail. It should actually be illegal to spoil movies. I actually had planned to watch the movie last week, like premiere week, but then, you know, I didn't have any babysitter for my kids. Add that to the long list of reasons why you probably shouldn't have children. Just throwing it out there. They even ruin movie premieres for you. Anyways, all jokes aside, let's get straight into today's video. And I've done this probably like a handful of times on the channel. I like to go in there and look at, you know, scalpers, how they're doing, how much they're reselling their figures for, especially if it's anything new that just hit store shelves or digital store shelves. I actually like to talk about them, especially if they're sold out through normal retailers, which is usually the case. Like sometimes you'll see stuff that is, you know, sold out, whether it's from Target, Walmart, Amazon, so on and so forth. And yet there are people that are already trying to flip their figures on eBay. Now, I should clarify, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, I don't think that action figure scalpers go around trying to pre-order stuff at full-on retail. I think most people that resell on eBay are people that have bought like pallets worth of these collectibles. I floated around a theory that I think that Hasbro and McFarlane and all these big retailers, or all these big manufacturers, I should say, if they're not able to sell all of their stock to retailers, sometimes they'll sell it to eBay flippers or action figure resellers. And I guess they don't have to abide by the whole MSRP. I think they can just price them at whatever it is that they want, because, you know, if you sit down and actually do the math and calculate for eBay fees and shipping, the profit margins are just too thin if they're buying them at full retail. Right now, a DC Multiverse figure, if you buy it at retail, most of the time you're paying about $30, and to try to resell it at like $45, there's very little profit to be made there. So I don't think that these people are buying these figures at full-on retail. But anyways, all nonsense aside, enough rambling, enough saliva being spit here. I actually wanted to take a look at some of the newer figures that are being announced and how much they're going for on eBay. Like I said, a lot of these have already sold out through multiple different retailers. You have, for example, the Nightquest Azrael DC Multiverse action figure. If I'm not mistaken, this was supposed to retail at, you know, multiple different places for about $25 to $28, depending on what retailer you went through. But last time I checked, unless there's a huge restock incoming, most places had already sold out. Entertainment Earth, Big Bad Toy Store, and Amazon 100% sold out. I think you can go through GameStop and try your luck there, but as I've said before, I'm not going to suggest that anybody buys anything through GameStop because it's an absolute nightmare. But if you guys are interested in this figure, it's already being marked up. I've seen it for, and again, this is just an estimate because, you know, people have it priced differently, but if you're including both the actual figure as well as shipping, on the low end, you're looking at about like $58 to $59. That's before tax. With tax, I think you're sitting at comfortably about $60, like really low 60, 61, 62. Other sellers have them at an even higher price point, so you're looking at like maybe $48 to $49 for the actual figure, and then another like $10 to $12 in shipping, not accounting for taxes, as I said before. Now, I did see some outliers that were a little bit lower, closer to like, you know, low 40s to mid 40s with everything included, but it is worth mentioning some of these didn't have great ratings. So it's very important to keep in mind if you're going to buy, especially third-party retail action figures that have sold out through multiple different websites, it's important to find the best seller because you don't want to run into any issues. You're already paying a huge markup, and now you have to deal with potentially, you know, a seller giving you a bunch of issues. And as I said at the beginning of the video, a lot of these resellers have multiples of these available. I've seen some listings for as high as like 10 to 12 of these issues or these action figures available. Others may have like 1 to 2, but pretty consistently I'm seeing a lot of sellers with at least 4 to 5, maybe 6, and then some as high as like 10 to 12 of these. So clearly they're probably buying directly from the source at a heavy discount. Then there's that new Page Punchers wave, which features a first appearance Golden Age Wonder Woman as well as a Superboy action figure, and I've already talked about these. I wasn't a huge fan of the Golden Age Wonder Woman, but it did end up selling out. Actually, both of these sold out through multiple different retailers. And as we have been seeing pretty consistently from a lot of these sellers, we do have one that is actually pretty affordable. I mean, compared to everybody else's, but it appears to be some of these, like large eBay sellers. They're selling their collectibles for about $45 each with free shipping. So even with taxes and everything, you're only paying about like $47 to $48, which is not that big of a markup. And that's where you really start questioning who these individuals are. There's no way these people are just buying these or pre-ordering a handful of these and trying to resell them online. As I mentioned, most of these sellers do have like multiple different action figures available, and a lot of these online retailers, whether it's like Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, and even Amazon, they have started to put limits on how much you can purchase of each particular character. So I lean closer to the idea that these are just people that are insiders that are getting, quite a bit of these action figures at well under retail. And then it would be an absolute crime if I did this entire video and only talked about the DC line from McFarlane. I also thought that we would take a quick little peek at his new Dark Ages Doomslayer action figure. This was supposed to be from that Elite Edition line, which is supposed to be like a brand new figure with like new sculpt, more attention to detail, better paint apps, and then overall just way more accessories than you would get from his regularly priced action figures. If I'm not mistaken, this originally was supposed to retail, well, it depended on where you got him from, but I think like Amazon and all of the bigger retailers had him available at $49.99. And then if you purchased him, I think from Entertainment Earth and Big Bad Toy Store, there was quite a bit of a markup. I think they were offering them for about like $60, but that was a price point about $50 to $60 plus shipping and taxes. If you're looking to purchase this figure at the moment of this recording from eBay or from any of these third-party retailers, you're looking to pay about like $130 to about $150, depending on the seller and how quickly they ship this item to you. But that's quite a bit of a hefty price point. If you're doing math at home, that's almost 3 times the original retail price. What's crazy is that a lot of these sellers actually put in the description or in the title that the pre-order is coming from Big Bad Toy Store. So I'm going to assume that it's from that affiliate program that they have, where people, if they have some sort of license as a small business, they can actually purchase, like dozens of these collectibles from them and then mark them up to whatever it is that they want to sell them on online. This is just a prime example of it, because otherwise, why would they mention, Big Bad Toy Store anywhere in their listing? It makes absolutely no sense. And it's kind of interesting because at the moment when these action figures got revealed or went up for pre-order, a lot of us lost our minds over the price point. I'll include myself. I thought they were massively, well, I wouldn't say massively overpriced, but they were definitely pricier than I expected. But at the end of the day, I'm the buffoon because these completely sold out. They flew off of store shelves. And now if you're interested in picking up this figure, you can either wait around to see if there's a small little restock happening within the next few weeks, or you can just bite the bullet and buy these figures for about like $130 each. And then obviously we couldn't do a proper list with only McFarlane collectibles. Let's jump over to the Marvel Legends line. We do have that Target exclusive Psylocke and Thanos 2-pack, and I have to say this one was definitely one that I kept my eye on. I really like that Psylocke action figure. I think that's going to be like our end-all Psylocke. A ton of new articulation, brand new body mold from head to toe, butterfly joints, double ab articulation. I think it had even like articulated hair, if I'm not mistaken. Like they went all out with this particular character. I've talked about this before, but the female characters are definitely starting to get a ton of love from the Marvel Legends line or from Hasbro in general, and this is a prime example of that. I think the retail for this was supposed to be $49.99 if I'm not mistaken through Target. Completely sold out. If you guys are interested in purchasing this from third-party sellers on eBay, you're paying about like $120. I'm not sure why this was a store exclusive, maybe because they were reusing that Thanos body mold, at least to an extent, but still, I mean, it was a brand new Psylocke. It made sense to make this widely available to everybody, but unfortunately, that's not what Hasbro did here. It was kind of a questionable choice. There were a ton of other 2-packs that I probably would have chosen for exclusives. For example, that Venom and Captain America 2-pack. I probably would have thrown that into an exclusive and then made the Psylocke way more available. Or maybe the War Machine with Omega Red. I think that one was more of a prime candidate for an exclusive where I thought maybe it wouldn't sell as well. Regardless, as I said, this one completely sold out, full off store shelves, and now it's going for about like 120. And then there is that War Journal Punisher 2-pack. That one also I think retailed for about $49.99, and I actually tried looking for it on Amazon. The listing wouldn't show up, so I'm going to assume that it's completely sold out through Amazon. And I checked, like Big Bad Toy Store and a few other retailers. It appears that they're all sold out on this particular 2-pack. If you're looking to purchase it through a third-party seller on eBay, roughly about like 120. I have seen some of these sell loose on their own, like if you're looking to pick up just Bushwhack or Punisher himself, but that one's, again, they're kind of expensive. You're looking at about like $80 for the Punisher, which is way more than the original 2-pack retailed for. But it just goes to show people sometimes are only interested in one of the figures in the 2-pack, and then they're looking to move on from the other figure in there that they probably don't want in their display. Now this one's a little bit more interesting because it was widely available. I think all of the major retailers had this particular 2-pack available. I'm not sure exactly why it is that this sold out, but if you guys are interested, as I said, it's going for roughly about like 110 to 120 on the low end. And then finally, I thought we would take a look at one culprit that is constantly on this scalpers list, and that is the Target exclusive retro carded Marvel Legends Carnage. This one was essentially a reuse with new accessories, with a new head sculpt, if I'm not mistaken. It looked brilliant. This is actually like my go-to Marvel Legends Carnage action figure at the moment. I absolutely love it, and I can see why people were going crazy for it. But if you guys are interested in purchasing this, you're looking at like low 40s for it, which is honestly not that bad. I think originally it retailed for about $25. I'm assuming that some of these people look to try to, make a little bit of a profit on this figure, but still, I think if you're patient, or if you go on to an eBay auction, you should be able to find it for closer to retail. I'm gonna guess maybe like high 30s, which, as I said, it's not too bad for a figure that's essentially out of circulation at the moment. But it's always very important to just be patient. This is one of those figures that has actually lost traction over the past year or so. This figure was kind of a hot commodity for a while. It was going for about $60, and it has been dropping exponentially since then. So definitely keep an eye on it. But as always, this is just my personal opinion, my personal take. I just wanted to kind of take you guys on a little bit of a trip and focus in on some of the newer collectibles that have sold out and are now being shopped around on eBay. I know it's pretty difficult to see this taking place as a hardcore collector, but regardless, it's important to kind of keep track of these things in case there's really no option. I guess you guys can go around on eBay, but honestly, as I've said before, just be patient. I think there will be some restocks, and I think eventually most of these figures will be hitting store shelves. Not to mention, I feel like a lot of the manufacturers may be underproducing a lot of collectibles just for the sake of getting some popularity thrown at them. This could definitely be a possibility. So stay safe out there. Make sure to enjoy the hobby, pose your action figures, play around with them. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and make sure to stay tuned. We're uploading content on almost a daily basis. I absolutely love putting these videos together for you guys, and hopefully you guys enjoy it just as much. Stay safe out there. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.